One of the most looked forward to interviews of the year, Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin. It's funny the way Putin started off. He didn't accept Tucker's premise in asking a question, and so he's like, "Are we on a talk show or is this a real interview?" And then he launched into an extensive historical contextual explanation of the Russian-Ukraine conflict. He pinned the primary blame on the CIA. Made a joke about the Tucker, said, "You did it," blew up Nord Stream. And Tucker's like, I think I was innocent that day. He goes, "Well, you have an alibi, but the CIA doesn't." Outed all of that, of course. Outed, now confirmed, because he'd hinted at this, but he hadn't confirmed before, that a peace deal was signed and ready to be delivered until Boris Johnson intervened on behalf of the West to prevent Zelensky from signing it. That would have ended the conflict very early on. Now, that belies all the attacks on Putin, claiming that, he wants to take over Ukraine and he wants to invade Europe and da-da-da-da. Quite clearly, no. It also corroborates the original thesis proposed here, that part of their military strategy was not to actually take over much of anything, but to get a peace deal quickly done that would be enforceable. And that's what the Boris Johnson in the West blew up. I haven't watched the whole interview. It's a little more than 2 hours long, so just got some of the highlights so far. But Putin is classic Putin shape. You wouldn't know it. I think he's in his 70s, but you wouldn't know it. His mental acuity is really top notch, of course. But if you haven't watched a Putin interview before, that's probably one of the better ones to do. Give you a sense of who he is and what his perspective is. But credit to Tucker for doing the interview in the first instance, and Tucker challenged him at the end. He challenged him throughout, but in the glimpse of parts that I saw. But he challenged him at the end, saying, you got the Wall Street journalist in there. He probably did something wrong, but he's not a super spy. Can't you send him back? And of course, Putin's response was, "We want reciprocity." E.g., he's a bargaining chip. They got to put some chips on the table before we give up our chips. But credit to Tucker for pursuing it. You can see Tucker's at ease and confidence. You watch a lot of Western journalists interview Putin, and they're either super nervous or uber aggressive. But they're not calm. They're not cool. They're not collected. They're not at ease. Tucker was completely at ease. It shows his extraordinary, honestly, self-confidence in that kind of setting. You're in the Kremlin interviewing enemy numero uno of the deep state, and you're just like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you're easy with the repartee with dear Vlad. So it's fun from just to take it in as a perspective of journalism and confidence and investigations and interactions and those kind of scenes and settings, educational and informative at that level as well. Of course, Putin reinforced. He goes, basically the same deep state runs your country. That doesn't matter who the president is. They're always fronts, facades. And highlighted that Biden, everybody knows that guy doesn't have a brain. That he's not really there. So that part was interesting as well. Unsurprising if you've followed Putin throughout his career tenure or deeply informed or engaged on these topics, but a fair number of people on the conservative side are not. And so I think belying the caricature of Putin, belying the fake narratives that have been spun around Ukraine, Tucker's interview is a good breakthrough in that regard as well.